Once Lena finalizes, we announce, then restructure. She can't stay. That was the message. Plain, cold. On Finn's iPad, opened by mistake when he handed it to me mid-meeting to check a file. The sender? Our chairman. My name, like an afterthought. I handed it back before he noticed my face. I didn't blink, didn't speak, didn't breathe. Just nodded and flipped open my laptop like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just read the plan to cut me out of the very deal I built. We were 20 minutes from signing, $20 million in capital. I'd led every call, prepped every term sheet, flown coach while Finn sought business. And now they were waiting for my work to finish so they could erase me quietly, like a smudge. I looked across the table at the Freylabs execs, smiling, chatting, thinking they were shaking hands with Valor Bio's best. They didn't know they were watching someone being professionally buried alive. I smiled too, but something inside me locked into place. I would close this deal. Then I'd bury them back. The next morning, I signed the last deliverable with a steady hand. Cross-border compliance package, legal disclosures, everything Freylabs team needed to greenlight our merger with them. I sent it at 9:01 a.m. Zurich time with a polite note. Pleasure working with your counsel. Excited for next steps. I CC'd the usual people, Finn, Priya, our COO, and Freylabs lead. But I also quietly BCC'd myself on my private Proton mail. Not paranoia, just habit. A habit I'd stopped justifying once I saw how fast credit disappeared in rooms where my name was never mentioned. At 9:17 a.m., Finn texted, "You're a rock star. We're lucky to have you." It landed with a thud. I replied, "Happy to help. Let me know when the press goes out." He left me on read. I spent the next 3 hours deleting every file I wasn't legally obligated to keep and backing up the rest, some to drives they didn't know existed. If they wanted to play silent, I could go quieter. Back in Boston, they staged a welcome home for the leadership team. Champagne, staff clapping, someone made a stupid joke about IPO timing. Finn hugged me too long in the lobby and whispered, "Just a few internal shifts coming. Don't worry, it's normal." My stomach dropped. I smiled anyway. Over the next week, I was looped out of strategy calls, rescheduled out of status updates, and assigned to meaningless tasks like writing bios for new hires. Priya pretended not to notice, but her eyes avoided mine in the break room. I knew how this worked. A slow fade, quiet restructuring. First, they isolate you. Then they make your exit feel voluntary. I started logging every message, storing hard copies of things they'd claim never existed. When my calendar pinged with a people and culture one-on-one scheduled for Monday morning, I didn't panic. I just tightened my ponytail, packed a folder, and smiled. They wanted silence. I'd give it to them. Monday's meeting was in the smaller glass room, the kind they use for confidential transitions. Amanda from HR was already seated. Finn showed up 5 minutes late, sleeves rolled up, no tie. "Lena," he started, "this is hard." I waited. He glanced at Amanda, then back. "With the merger finalized, the board's aligning our structure globally. Unfortunately, your role overlaps heavily with new leadership coming in." Amanda slid a glossy envelope across the table. A departure package, NDA included. I didn't touch it. "So that's it?" I asked. 2 years of growth strategy, 8 weeks of merger hell, and I'm out because you overhired? Finn looked pained. "You'll land on your feet. Everyone knows you're brilliant." I looked down at the envelope, then at Amanda. "Can I have a day to review?" She nodded. "Of course." I smiled, soft and professional, then walked out, folder still tucked under my arm. They had no idea what I already had. I didn't go home. I went to the co-working space I used before Valor Bio had an office. Quiet, neutral, no eyes. I pulled out the folder, printed emails, meeting notes, screenshots. One document stood out, an internal memo from a board member, time-stamped a week before the merger. It laid out the plan. After integration, remove Lena. She holds too much relationship equity with Freylabs. That memo alone could trigger an SEC review. The merger had been sold to investors as unified leadership, not internal displacement. But I wasn't ready to go nuclear. Not yet. I needed leverage first. I made a call to my old Stanford lad partner, now a patent attorney. Asked him if he had time for drinks. "You working on something?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, "but not for them anymore." That week, I dug into the files I'd saved, especially the IP disclosures. I found what I hoped I wouldn't: 2 compounds co-developed under my old framework, filed without my name. I'd led the early-stage trials back when we were pre-seed. The code names were changed, but the sequence tags matched. It was buried, sloppy, and probably rushed before the merger. I documented everything. My friend, the patent lawyer, confirmed what I already knew. They'd used my unpublished work as foundational IP without attribution. "You could have grounds," he said. "Maybe not for full ownership, but definitely for authorship and misrepresentation." I thanked him and said nothing else. This wasn't about lawsuits, not yet. I wanted positioning, power, and for that, I needed timing. The press release dropped on Friday. Valor Bio and Frey Labs finalize 1.2B merger to revolutionize neurotherapeutics. Fin fame was everywhere. So was Priya's. I wasn't mentioned once. I stared at the screen, then closed the browser. I didn't need recognition. I needed precision. That same day, I scheduled a meeting with Frey Labs' Chief Science Officer, Dr. Malene Voss, under the pretext of handover clarity. We met via encrypted Zoom. I kept it clean. Showed her one dataset, one trail of emails, no threats, just clarity. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I'll escalate internally. This is serious." I thanked her, then left it at that. One nudge. That's all I needed. They'd feel the shift before they saw it coming. Monday came with silence. No emails, no calls. But on Tuesday, Priya texted, "Can we talk? Things are tense." I ignored it. That night, Frey Labs issued an internal audit notice. Confidential. I wasn't supposed to know, but someone from their compliance team sent me a single thumbs-up emoji. No words, just that. Enough to confirm it had begun. On Thursday, the CFO's calendar showed 3 unscheduled calls with Zurich. The chairman canceled a keynote, and Fin stopped posting on LinkedIn. When Amanda from HR reached back out with gentle reminders to sign the NDA, I replied once, still reviewing. Then I backed up everything, again. By Friday, I had 3 job offers, none of which I applied for. One was from a rival biotech I'd once pitched against. Another was from a venture firm quietly building a new health tech fund. The third? Frey Labs, from Malene herself. Separate from Valor Bio, her message said, "Full autonomy, advisory role. Let me know if you want to build something that isn't built on lies." I didn't answer yet, not because I wasn't tempted, but because I had one last thread to pull. I logged into my backup drive and pulled the original pitch deck, the one that started the merger talks in the first place. My name was on every slide. So was the concept for Platform X, the very platform they claimed was born from joint research. False. I dragged the folder to a USB and walked into my final meeting at Valor Bio. They thought I was there to sign the NDA. Amanda had a notary waiting. Fin was there too, this time in a blazer. I sat, pulled out the USB, and slid it forward. "This is for your records," I said. "It contains every documented instance of IP misattribution, internal manipulation of contribution logs, and executive correspondence indicating premeditated restructuring for false merger optics." Amanda's mouth opened slightly. Fin reached for the USB. I stopped him. "One copy. I kept the other. Also, I've informed Frey Labs." He paled. "What do you want?" he asked. "Not this job," I said, "but I want the record fixed. I want my name where it belongs. And I want a statement. Clean, short, public." Amanda nodded stiffly. Fin didn't speak. "You have until Monday," I said, standing. "After that, it's out of my hands." They tried to buy time. Fin emailed a vague apology on Saturday. "We'd prefer to handle this internally. Public statements can destabilize trust." I didn't respond. Sunday morning, Frey Labs quietly removed Valor Bio's name from their social media banners, a subtle signal. That afternoon, Priya finally called. Her voice was tight. Lena, I didn't know about the text, the memo, any of it. I didn't comfort her. You didn't ask, I said. There was a long pause. So what now? She asked. I looked at the offer Malene had sent me again. Autonomy, clean start, no baggage. Now, I said, now I go do the work, without you. I ended the call. It was the first time in months I felt weight lift. Monday at 9 a.m., a new press release went out. One paragraph added. Tucked into the bottom, Valor Bio's Lena Kaminsky led merger negotiations and platform strategy during pre-integration phases. We thank her for foundational contributions. It was short, sterile, but it was on record. That same hour, the SEC acknowledged receipt of an anonymous whistleblower packet, forwarded through proper legal channels, not by me, but by an external party. Finn was named in the appendix. Internal manipulation, misattribution, misrepresentation to investors. It would take months, maybe years to unfold, but I wouldn't be there to watch. I'd already signed the other offer. Frey Labs onboarded me as a strategic science advisor under a new research arm, Project Lumen. Clean team, blank slate, full authorship. I walked into the new building wearing sneakers and carrying nothing but a notebook. Malene greeted me herself. We want to build this right, she said. No ghosts in the walls. I nodded. I wasn't interested in revenge anymore. That part was done. What I wanted now was control. Not the loud kind, with speeches and spotlights. The kind that lets you create without asking permission. The kind where no one can pretend you weren't there. 2 months later, I got a message from an old colleague. Valor Bio's rebranding. Finn's stepping down. I smiled, just a little. Then archived the message. That world was still spinning, still messy, still full of men who smiled during sabotage. But I wasn't in orbit anymore. At Project Lumen, we were testing a neuromodulator that had shown 11% efficacy in early trials. Tiny, but promising. My name was first on the preprint. No erasures, no edits, just mine. Some nights, I still thought about the hotel bathroom in Zurich, the moment I saw that text, and how I didn't flinch. How I learned that silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the setup. I never confronted Finn again. Didn't need to. He knew. They all did. Every board member who got the email, every exec who watched the PR correction go out, they knew who'd really built the deal, who made the calls, who stayed silent just long enough to detonate everything cleanly. I didn't want an apology. I didn't want revenge headlines. I just wanted the record straight, the kind of clarity they couldn't scrub. Now, when I walk into rooms, people don't ask me what I've done. They already know. I was never supposed to stay. They made sure of that. But I left the kind of mark you can't quietly erase.